This episode is brought to you by Iams Pet Food. When you choose Iams dry dog or cat food, you can see a difference in your pet with your own eyes. Healthy energy in 5 days, healthy digestion in 10 days, and healthy skin and coat in just 25 days. Satisfaction for you and them. Guaranteed or your money back. Feed Iams dry dog or cat food and see a visible difference. Visit iams.com/difference to learn more.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
This episode is brought to you by AWS. Amazon Q Business is the generative AI assistant that can securely understand your business data, summarize results, and streamline tasks. Learn what Amazon Q Business can do for you at AWS.com/learn more.
Hello, it's the monthly mailbag exclusively for Country Club tier subscribers at the Islanders Anxiety Patreon page. Thank you so much for your support, for your dough, and for your great questions. Mike, I didn't think we were going to get that many questions today. The post was only up for a few hours. We're kind of doing this the night of the post going up, which is sort of unusual for us. But the people have a lot on their minds, and the patrons have a lot of very probing questions, much like the kinds we asked ourselves on Islanders Anxiety last night. So you ready to dive in and do our best to answer some of these questions that we most definitely can't answer?
Yeah. I'm ready for it. These are always unanswerable, because nobody has the answers, whether they play for the team, coach the team, run the team, own the team, or root for the team. So we'll do our best.
Right. So we're all in the same boat, which is always a fun way to do these things. But yeah, so we'll get right into it. So we start with Mike T, who asks maybe the once again the sort of table setting question for all of this whole thing that we're going to go through tonight. How many times do we have to watch the same game over and over again before something changes, or we all go completely insane? Where is the accountability? Where does this end? That is a great question. I mean, you can make the case that we're all already completely insane because we're all still here watching this team do the same things over and over again. But I don't know. I mean, again, I'm still struck by what Patrick Waugh and Anders Lee were saying after the game last night, the loss to the Blackhawks on Sunday. And I don't know. My only guess is that, like, to them, they don't really think of this as, blown lead number whatever, or, regulation loss to bad team number whatever. Or, again, we talked, this was not the last time or the only time that they blew a power play. Then after an icing call, ended up giving up the game-winning goal with a few seconds left. Like, we've literally seen this play happen multiple times, and to these guys, it just didn't really matter. So I don't know. How many times do you think we have to watch this before something changes? I mean, something has to change at some point, but at what point is that? Because we've gone well past, I think, the point that we all would think the changes would have already happened.
Yeah, I think that's the right answer, what you just said at the very end there, which is if the changes haven't come or been addressed, or there's no, like, even insinuation that there's going to be some sort of consequences already, then why would we believe that they will come if, let's say, they play Carolina tomorrow and it's the same issues over and over again? And I think that, this is something that I want to get to eventually on Islanders anxiety in further detail, but just with the way things go, it's hard to. We can't. Our episodes are already pretty bloated, like close to 2 hours and whatever. But one thing I do want to talk about is, like, I do feel like the ownership structure of the Islanders is, it's not absentee, but, like, I think we know where their priorities lie right now. It's not the Islanders winning. I don't know I don't know what Scott Malkin looks like, but if I ran into him in the street tomorrow and I said, "Hey, what is the Islanders record?" I don't think he would know, but he would certainly tell me what, how the hiring's going at the Versace store at the new Village at Belmont Park, right? Like, I think that's probably what we're dealing with here. Not that that's unique to the Islanders. I think most sports owners are more into the real estate and the bottom line than the team's penalty kill percentage. So, so I think that's part of the reason why I don't expect the boat to be rocked at all, which is frustrating. And so yeah, I guess whatever the opposite of buckle up is, do that, because I don't think anything's going to change here.
Yeah, unbuckle and recline your seat, I guess, would be the opposite.
Take a nap.
Take a nap. Yeah, right. No, we actually have a couple of Scott Malkin based questions this time around, which is sort of unusual. I don't know if we've really had that many to this point, and I think those are fair. Like, we do wonder, if you did meet Scott Malkin, or I met Scott Malkin on the street and asked him, I'm sure his answer to any Islanders related question would be, well, we put it in Lou's hands and we trust Lou and he's got this all under control. Meanwhile, he might be looking to find somebody to hire to replace Lou for all we know, but he's never going to say anything otherwise. So, it's a tough one. And again, for us as fans, we watch this team day in and day out, and it's clear that what we're experiencing is not what the players feel. And like, these guys are looking at these games as if, oh yeah, we did a lot of good things out there. We just came up a goal short. Whereas we're watching these games and like throwing stuff against the wall because our team is perpetually 1 point out of the final playoff spot, with, a bunch of games already played and, a looming playoff series against a team that they probably can't beat on the horizon. And teams are doing stuff around them and making moves and changes or maybe melting down, and it maybe kind of gives you a little bit of hope, but then again, maybe not. It's a horrible existence. And these guys just seem to kind of go about their day job without much care towards what we're doing. And I'm not saying that they need to, but they definitely don't. It's very frustrating. So I don't know where it ends, Mike. I really don't. Hopefully, we get some clarity soon, whether it's changes somewhere or, they go on like a 10-game winning streak or something. Like, they could do that too. They can make the change within themselves and just stop playing the way that they're playing and play in such a way that it gets wins on the board and like puts up strings of victories as opposed to winning 1 game a week. Like, they could do that too, and we'd all feel a lot better if they did that. But neither of those things seems like it's going to be coming down the pipe anytime soon, as Mike just said. But thank you, Mike. We really appreciate it, and you're always good with these sort of opening questions. Adam asks, I think you guys are correct in that the Islanders care more about playing together than winning. All right, cool. I think sometimes they try hard, but I feel like there is only urgency when trade talks swell, and then they only play hard enough to avoid being traded before going back to cruise control. This is probably something we should look into, but he does have a couple of examples. So, case in point, the 22-23 team won 5 of 7 games heading into the trade deadline. The 23-24 team won 5 straight heading into the trade deadline and then lost 7 right after the deadline passed. I'm going to throw this right to you because your memory is far superior than mine. Is this something that maybe the Islanders do and maybe we just haven't noticed it? And if so, do you think they're doing it just so they don't get traded? Because they haven't really made any sort of big subtractions. They brought people in, obviously, Pajot, Palmieri, Green, all these other guys, but they haven't really made any subtractions. And I don't know, Adam might be onto something here.
Yes, this is an astute point, I think. And this is something that I know on the point with Boomer Gordon on NHL Radio, he talks about this a lot. Like, the Islanders' superpower is just hanging around until like there's literally no other option but to go and to be mathematically eliminated or to go on a run, and it usually falls right around the trade deadline. And I agree. This they do seem like the only team in sports that cares more about like who's on the team. Like, we're a package deal kind of thing. Right. Like, it's very, the Islanders they're essentially a CYO basketball team that's played together forever, and they don't want the AAU teams to come in and take their good players or whatever. I guess we'll wait for the whatever the frozen face off because I think that is the de facto trade deadline for the Islanders and most of the NHL. Because I don't think teams will want to go into that with their players who are on expiring deals who they can trade at the deadline. Especially if they're going to that tournament, like Brock Nelson, for example. So if they get hot right before that, we do know that this has been their plan all along.
Yeah. That'll be some evidence. I wouldn't say this is totally within evidence, but I forgot to mention this on Anxiety last night. But the Christmas trade deadline or the trade freeze begins on this Friday, the 20th. And so you might see a bunch of deals happening before then. If the Islanders come out on Tuesday and just beat the brakes off the Hurricanes in a convincing, as straight ahead win, that might be just more fuel to the fire here that Adam has set up. And it's possible they could be like, oh shit, if Lou might have one of us gone if we don't do something here. Let's go in there, and then they win 4-0, or something like that. So that I guess again wouldn't prove it necessarily, but it definitely would lead more credence to that. But it's something. I mean, again, on one hand, again, we've talked about it. It's very admirable that these guys love each other so much and they're so tight. Going back years and years and years, even before the playoff runs, Evgeny Nabokov famously said they're like brothers over there, and that's a beautiful thing. But we're seeing now the unfortunate other side effect of that, which is that the team is kind of stale and needs a refresh. And these guys are old, in some cases not bad, just older, being paid a lot of money, and are very much entrenched. And it's hard to see them moving on and the team getting any better as long as those guys are still here. So, Adam, you've piqued our interest. We're going to keep watching this now. If they do end up going on a run before the trade deadline, we're going to have to revisit this, and you might have to write something for The Athletic. We'll let Art Staple know that you're going to have something cooking in a few months. Thanks a lot. That's a great question. Will says, I think I'm at the point where I'm starting to look forward to your podcast more than the actual games. That is very unfortunate, Will. I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully we're not boring you to tears. I don't know how we have any listeners, to be honest with you, but thank you very much. I haven't felt that way since the last Barry year. If you were Scott Malkin, what would you do in the offseason other than nix the Empire State Building stuff? Status quo or look to the future? Who would you consider as a replacement for Lou as GM? I can't think of any other realistic options, but it seems like his expiration date as GM is not. Once again, I will throw this to you. There's obviously a multi-part question here. Let's say instead of meeting Scott Malkin on the street, you are Scott Malkin. We'll do a little choose your own adventure situation here. What would you do to fix the Islanders first overall? Again, you can't just fire Lou and not have a GM. You got to have somebody in place. But do you have somebody in mind that maybe you would give a call and be like, hey, what would you think about running the Islanders?
I really don't. Like, that's part of the problem, right? Like,
it is
I don't.
True, yeah.
Most teams seem to be falling into the same trap, which is go onto Hockey Reference, scroll to 2002, 2003, find a player who was good, whether it's Bill Guerin or Steve Yzerman, Chris Drury, Danny Briere. I mean, and just hire that Rob Blake.
Right.
Is that in there? So I don't, like, honestly, I don't. I think to be honest, if I could pick anyone, I think it'd be Kevin Cheveldayoff, the guy who's running the Jets. That's who was running the Jets still, right? The GM, because I think that what he's doing is he does a really good job,
right?
With considering their situation, which I don't think is too dissimilar from the Islanders situation.
Yeah, that's probably true.
But I also would feel pretty guilty if the Islanders like swooped in and big marketed a fellow small market team. Yeah, and I think this. I honestly don't even. You're talking about memory. I don't even remember what we said, like talking about Lou and like the rumors that him and Patrick Waugh like don't talk or whatever, and that Lou's on like a short leash. Yes, of course he's on a short leash. He's 81, 82 years old. That's just like the nature of that, of A, the job he has, and B, having that job at that age. Like, he's probably every year has to give good thought to whether or not he wants to continue because of his age. So I do think that I want to say like the end is nigh, or imminent for the Reign, but I do think that there's probably a succession plan already in place that Lou, Scott Malkin, John Ledecky know about, right? Like, there's probably already something in in mind just because of the nature of where Lou is at his life and career. So I that's why I just don't give any credence to any of those kind of reports that come out about Lou and the ownership being sniffing around or whatever. So yeah. But other than that, I don't know what there is to. I almost try not to think about it because I don't know what options are better than what the Islanders have, considering they are the Islanders. And once again, you look around the league, and there's probably 26 other teams that I wouldn't want their front office to be running the Islanders. So it's not all that bad.
It's taken this long for Steve Yzerman to start taking heat, right? I mean, until this year, he could do no wrong.
The Sabres aren't. Don't worry, guys. We're not gonna. You guys are doing just fine. The answers are in this room, as they have been for the last 14 years. We're gonna give you guys a good old college try. We don't want to pull the plug too early on this thing.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. If that was if that was the Islanders today, if the Islanders had this, I would be at Nassau Coliseum or at UBS Arena burning things. I cannot believe what the stuff that came out from the Sabres today.
Yeah, that would have made me even more mad. Was that what Terry Pegula was saying? No, you guys got this. We trust you. We believe in you. Yeah, sure, okay. Just like you believed in the last 14 Sabres rosters. I will give you. I was thinking about this question before, and I will give you two GM candidates, and I don't know if either of them would be better because that's like you said. I mean, I don't know who takes over for these guys, and what does that even mean? The two guys. Well, one guy comes to mind right away. And I don't know where he's working now. I'm pretty sure he's a scout or something for somebody in the NHL. And that's Jarmo Kekalainen. Jarmo ran the Blue Jackets for a long time. They made the playoffs a bunch of times. They struck out on a bunch of free agents a lot, which is kind of his calling card there. He was, well-liked, I think, within the organization. Has a very shiny, bald head. And he's a guy who has experience, and I could see I'm kind of surprised nobody's given him a chance yet, although there haven't been too many GM openings, but he's a guy I can see popping up somewhere again. But of course, he has no connection to the Islanders at all, aside from the fact that he used to run a team. Obviously, the Sabres have had a bunch of different GMs, and actually another guy I completely forgot about. And it would be kind of funny now, although I don't know where he's working. I honestly don't know how old he is. I don't know if he would even want the job because God knows he put in enough work on his own for many years. Would be Darcy Regier, a guy who almost had the Islanders job when Mike Milbury got the job. I mean, how funny would that be if Darcy shows up? I mean, he might be 70 years old for I know, but if he shows up and takes over, then it'll almost be like, that's kind of an interesting choice. And again, had the Sabres had any money back when he was running them, maybe they would have won a Stanley Cup or whatever, because he's the last GM to preside over a successful Sabres team, but there were also many unsuccessful years under Darcy too. But another guy, and this guy just came to me a couple of days ago, and this is an incredible long shot. I would never think that this person is ever going to come here, but I'll throw it to you in the form of a trivia question. Do you remember a general manager who was at one place for quite a number of years and would eventually take over another team, but in the interim was an Islanders special assistant for maybe just shy of a year? And this is fairly recently too.
I remember.
Do you know the guy I'm talking about?
George McPhee.
George McPhee, right? Who is like, I guess, president or some kind of honorary thing with Vegas. He's still with Vegas, but he's not the GM anymore. Obviously, Kelly McCrimmon is a GM. But I thought about that too. I was like, George played he played for the Rangers. He managed the Caps. He's sort of an East Coast guy. I think he went to Harvard or Princeton or something like that. I wonder if he would be interested in coming back east and running the team that he did briefly work for a little while. And obviously, George's or McPhee's, roster is the one that went to the Cup final that first year. A lot of those guys are still around when they won the Cup a couple of years later. So I don't know. That could be an interesting idea. Of Regier, Kekalainen, and McPhee, do any of those guys strike you as a possibility for replacing Lou Lamoriello, or am I just kind of throwing darts at a wall here?
No, I think George McPhee makes a lot of sense, actually. Except, like, you just wonder if he'd want to leave Vegas.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Like, that's the only question. And and who knows? Maybe he does if he gets, like, the same deal that Lou has, which is I'm the president and the GM and the I get to decide how the whole ship is run, which I think is also part of the thing that people need to consider when we're talking about Lou and moving on from Lou. But yeah, I would put McPhee up there if as definitely towards the top of my list for sure. Like, give me him over basically anybody that will be popped up. Like the name, it's gonna be annoying too because the names that are gonna be let's say Lou says tomorrow, this is it for me. I'm done after this year or whatever. It's just gonna be the same old names that these insiders do because they get a text from whoever.
Yeah.
Jason Botterill or who's the Peter Chiarelli. You got to wonder about Peter Chiarelli, Friedge. Does you think he deserves a second chance? He definitely isn't texting me right now saying mention me, connect me to the Islanders.
Right. I definitely wasn't having lunch with his agent 2 days ago who told me you should get Peter's name out there.
Maybe it could be a player GM sort of thing with Mitch Marner because his dad is certainly not texting me right now. This has been TSN Insiders with Jaron Drager.
Yeah, it would definitely be something like that. So yeah, and again, we'll never know. But I don't know. I just kind of thought of those guys. But now I kind of like your theory of go down a list of who was good in 2002. And I'm going to throw another name in the ring. How about Alexei Yashin? He was pretty good in 2002. 75 points. 15th highest goal scorer.
Can you imagine? Oh my God, that would be so. And he's got the experience. Him and Shatan, right? Shatan's running the Slovakian national team.
Yeah.
Yashin's was running the women's team in Russia for a while. Yeah. So, sure. Oh my God, imagine that. Sign me up. Right. Sign me up for. I don't know about Rick, but some of those guys, I'll sign up for.
Another great option from that era would be Joe Thornton, and it would. I don't know if Joe Thornton would be a good general manager, but it would be great to go from the guy who doesn't allow beards to a guy who's like 75% beard now. Like that would be a fun, a fun transition too. But Will, I don't think we really answered your question, but we hopefully have given you some people to think about, and we'll never know. Again, one day I think we're all going to wake up and we're going to hear that. I don't even think that Lou will get fired. I think one day we'll wake up and we'll be like, Lou Lamoriello has stepped down, and this ex guy is now the GM, and it will not be Chris Lamoriello. I could say that for sure. We have a question about him coming up soon, but I think that'll be kind of like that. But as far as candidates go, man, I have absolutely no idea. But thank you for that question. It's great. Okay, another kind of ownership question here from Jeff, who asks, do you think it's possible Islanders ownership is pulling a Pittsburgh Pirates? What I mean is putting enough funding into the roster and other supplemental things like the arena to keep the team profitable, but without needing to buy in to expensive roster moves. Knowing Ledecky and Malkin being interested in real estate, and Bob Nutting, the owner of the Pirates, here used to be in the same primary business, I can't help but think that maybe this is exactly how they want to run the team. He has a secondary question. Do you think it's possible after the failure of the last Trotz year and the initial Lambert year, this company has cut off Lou from making any majorly expensive roster moves? Well, I don't know about that second one. I don't think they've cut off Lou from doing anything. I think that they've given him all the free reign to make whatever moves he needs to. I just don't think that anybody wants what he's selling. I mean, we just talked about this a little bit on anxiety when we talked about Oliver Wahlstrom. Like, people that thought that, wow, they lost Wahlstrom for nothing. Well, if you don't think that Lou's been trying to trade this guy for 2 years, I don't know what to tell you. Like, who's going to want this guy? And if the Bruins can pick him up for nothing, that's a different story. Like, that changes everything. Why give up a pick, even a 7th rounder, if you don't have to? So I don't think it's so much that. I do think these guys will spend money. I mean, I don't think Lou is cheap. And I don't think Patrick Waugh is cheap. And certainly a lot of guys on the roster aren't cheap, making a lot of money. So I don't know if they're going to go full Pittsburgh Pirates, but I do kind of get where you're coming from. And you just mentioned this yourself, like maybe there is something to this. The retail village is now up. I'm sure that's going to be making a ton of dough. The hotel is going to be next, which is going to be up in time for the All-Star game, which is coming here, almost a year from, a month from now. So maybe that is their primary purpose here and their primary, kind of prime directive rather than winning games. And if that is the case, we're in for a very, very long lifetime here because the Pirates have not been exactly the model franchise. Our friend Adam Gretz is a Pirates guy. Obviously, he's a Pittsburgh guy. And man, the stuff he tweets during these Pirates games, it makes me feel bad, for him. The Pirates, they luck into a good team every 20 years or so because they just unearth some all-star, whether it's Barry Bonds, whether it's Andrew McCutchen. I don't be surprised if Paul Skeens drags them kicking and screaming into the playoffs one year, just because he's just by the sheer force of his talent and skill. So hopefully that's not the future for the Islanders. But what do you think of Jeff's question here? I mean, is this a situation where these guys are going to build up enough and keep the team running in such a way that they make money without ever having to sort of like go in on a winner that's going to, actually kind of bring in a championship as opposed to just kind of go along and make money and just be okay?
I think I get I get the gist of it, and I think there's somewhere in the middle of there's probably, they're not going full Pittsburgh Pirates, but I do think there is something to it. Like it's a very pleasant experience, like the UBS Arena, right? Like
right.
Putting aside prices, because prices are prices no matter where you are, right? The park is really nice. It's the building's really nice. I'm sure that the retail village will be really nice for those who can who know what those brands are.
Right.
They're in that stratosphere. But I do think sometimes it feels like the Islanders are like a means to an end, or more than like a vehicle for that stuff, almost a front. And I don't mean it like that, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like I'm not insinuating anything like that, but it does feel like it. Like they're just an attraction as part of like the greater scheme than the focal point, which I don't necessarily want to be the case. So because when the Islanders were with under Charles Wang and at Nassau Coliseum, and yes, there of course were a lot of other strange problems there, but you knew that like the Islanders were Nassau Coliseum. If you're going to Nassau Coliseum, it was probably going to be to see the Islanders, and if you're going to see something else, the Islanders were plastered everywhere. It was the Islanders, and I just don't want it to be lost on the place that like the Islanders are the anchor tenant here. Like this is the Islanders' bit of land. It's not, why don't we go to the Islander game and we'll leave in the middle of the first intermission, or because the Hermes is having a sale or something at the store, and we should go to that. Like that'd be bad. But I don't think we're even close to there yet. And trust me, if we do get there, I think there'll be a lot of discontent among the fan base, more than having a bad product on the ice. So I don't think that the fan base would allow ownership to go in that direction, because there was a point where the Islanders were even worse than the Pittsburgh Pirates in terms of this stuff. Right? They were picking up guys to get to the salary floor and stuff like that. Right. So, but it is like a thought in a way, Jeff, a thought that's crossed my mind.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, we're still fairly new in this era, but like I said, hopefully they don't get to that point. But they've done right now. It seems like they've done a good job in building up the whole thing. And again, having UBS changes everything, and then having the hotel there is going to change everything. And once Belmont is back up and operational again, that's going to change everything. So it's going to be a cool spot eventually. But yeah, you hope that the team that plays inside there 41 games out of the year is the number one attraction. So thanks, Jeff. That's a great question, and you've now made us worried about something else that I hadn't thought about before. So we appreciate that. Thanks for listening to this excerpt from our monthly mailbag episode for this month. To hear the full episode, go to patreon.com/IslandersAnxiety, sign up for the Country Club tier, and you can hear the rest. Thanks a lot.
Hey, it's Austin James. Yes, I'm living with diabetes, but it doesn't have to define me. Thanks to the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor, I get real-time glucose readings throughout the day. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor is small and easy to wear, giving me the freedom to focus on my life as a parent and a musician. Now this is progress. You can get a free sensor at freestylelibre.us.
Offer available for people who qualify. Visit myfreestyle.us to see all terms and conditions. Certain exclusions apply. Data on file. Abbott Diabetes Care. For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary. and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
This episode is brought to you by United Airlines. When you want to make the most of your vacation, book with United. They're an airline that cares about your travels as much as you do. United is transforming the flying experience with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to help fit everyone's bag. And with their app, you can skip the bag check line, get live updates, and more. Change the way you fly. Book your next trip today at united.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the...
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your...
windshield wipers. eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying... just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.